Welcome to this week's episode of the Ride of Your Life podcast, everyone. And thank you for tuning in. And we're just thankful for your support of this ministry. 1 year in the makings. And as we said this past week, on Monday the 15th was our 1 year anniversary of officially launching this ministry. And it's just neat to see the hand of the Lord and what He's done just over the past year. And we're excited for what He's going to do in the next year, and the year after that, until He comes again. So today we have a very special guest here on the podcast. She is new to the virtual studio. Her name is Amanda Nolan. She's a new up-and-coming Christian artist, and today we're just going to talk about her music and just get to know her a little bit and just what she's doing for the Lord. So we're going to go ahead and jump into this week's episode. You don't want to miss a second, so go ahead, buckle up, because here we go. Welcome to this week's main segment of the Ride of Your Life podcast. This week in the virtual studio, we have a really awesome guest. Her name is Amanda Nolan. How you doing, Amanda?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great. And Miss Amanda was actually recommended to us by a good friend of the podcast and the ministry, Miss Kate Stanford. And Miss Kate's recommended some really cool people, and we can't wait to have them on. And Amanda and the Scally Brothers were some of those folks. And we're so glad to have you on here, Amanda. And we're excited to get to know you a little bit and what God's got you doing there in the Christian music industry. So
thank you so much. I'm excited.
Yeah, we're glad to have you here. So just as a little icebreaker, we just want to get to know you, and we do this with a lot of our artists that we have on here, just looking at some of your favorite songs. And one of the first ones we want to look at is, what is your favorite song from a movie?
Ooh, from a movie. That's a really great question. So I saw the new Hunger Games movie, like when it first came out, and the song Can't Catch Me Now by Olivia Rodrigo. I think that song is so beautifully written, and it was like my favorite when it came out. So I'd say at the moment, that's my favorite.
Nice. And I've yet to see that. So how was it?
Oh, it was so good. I think her name is Rachel Ziegler, I think that's how you say her last name. She's one of my favorite actresses. I think she has one of the most beautiful voices ever. It's so good. You have to see it. It's really good.
Awesome. We'll have to check that out. And I still got to catch up on my Hunger Games, too. I think I've only seen the first two ones, so we'll have to watch. Yeah. But so what is your favorite TV show theme song?
Ooh, that's also a really good question. I think, okay, so there's a show called One Tree Hill. I don't know if you've heard of it. I watched that back, this is like early 2000s, but I ended up watching it when I was in middle school, and the theme song is a song by Gavin DeGraw, who was a big inspiration for me growing up, just in terms of songwriting. I think it's called I Don't Want to Be Anything. It's really interesting. You got to listen to it. It's a great song.
Okay.
Girl is amazing. I think it's called I Don't Want to Be. I think that's what it's called. Really good.
Cool. The next one here is a song from your childhood that has a special meaning to you.
I love that. I would say from my childhood, it would have to be, honestly, any song by Frank Sinatra.
Nice.
Frank Sinatra was a huge artist that was playing in our house growing up, especially his Christmas album. That, if I ever just want to feel like the most nostalgic ever, like feeling ever, I would listen to any Frank Sinatra Christmas song, and I love it.
With that, what is your favorite Christmas song?
There's so many. I think, oh man, there's so many. I think probably I'll Be Home for Christmas.
Okay.
I love that one. I think it's just, again, very nostalgic, and it's so good.
While we're on the topic of Christmas, could we see a Christmas album from Amanda Nolan in the near future?
That is one of my absolute biggest dreams. I would love to do kind of like a jazzy Christmas album. That would be so much fun. Hopefully this year. We'll see. I don't have any plans as, of right now, but praying on that one, so I hope so.
Nice. Had to throw that in there. But what is your favorite worship song or hymn?
I would say, I always have to go with Goodness of God.
Mm-hmm.
I think that one is just a constant reminder that no matter what we go through, we are constantly living in the goodness of God, because everything that comes our way, and just living and having breath in our lungs, we are living in the goodness of God. And I think it's just such a beautiful reminder and a beautiful song.
Absolutely. That's one of my favorite songs too, and just a good reminder of even when this life is just crazy and you lose focus on what truly matters, you can just reflect on the goodness of God, and just there's so much to be thankful in an unthankful world.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
Awesome. And this may be a Frank Sinatra song or not, but what is your favorite song from your favorite artist or band?
Ooh, I feel like I have so many favorite artists in like different genres. Man, that's a great question.
Go ahead and list a few then, to make it a little bit easier on you.
Yeah, no, so one of my favorite artists of all time is Ed Sheeran. He was the reason I started songwriting, because I just think he's a lyrical genius in every single song he's ever released. So I think, I have so many favorites of his. I don't know if I can choose one. Yeah, he's great. I love Frank Sinatra. Probably I'll Be Home for Christmas. It's like, it's not, I don't know if that's really his song, but he did a version of it.
Yeah.
I love Lauren Daigle. She has so many amazing songs. You Say was one of the first Christian songs I really listened to, just because I didn't really grow up listening to Christian music hardly at all. So that was one of the first ones. I love that by her. I have so many favorites. I love Zach Williams. Gosh, there's just so many amazing artists nowadays. It's so hard to choose a favorite song.
Absolutely. Well, those are some good picks there as far as artists go, and it is hard to pinpoint a favorite song from each of them. Like even Zach Williams, I love Zach Williams. It's like it's like what song from which album?
I know, like I have too many.
Yeah, but cool. And what's a song you turn to when you need comfort?
That's awesome. So good. What is it called? It's a worship song that I'm going to blank on the name. Oh man, I forget the name. I'll think of a different one because I have a million.
Okay.
I think Goodness of God would honestly be one of them, just because, like I said, before, the reminder that we're living in the goodness of God whenever I'm going through a hard time. That one is one that I go to. Yeah, man, just a lot of different, a lot of Maverick City worship songs. Jireh is one of my favorites.
Yeah.
That's been a favorite since day one. Wait on You, I think that's what it's called, by Maverick City. That's a really good one too. Yeah, just all of those. They're all so good. Anything by Maverick City is something I'll turn on.
Awesome. And the last one here is, what is your favorite song to perform?
Ooh, my favorite song to perform is probably my song For Such a Time as This. It's just one that I feel people have connected the most to out of all the songs I've released thus far. And it's just really, I don't know, it's just one of the songs where like I feel it so much and I feel the message of it, so it just comes out in my performance. And it's just really cool to see people connect with it.
Awesome. And that's one song I do want to come back to later on in our interview today, and just I'm going to hear the backstory of that
Absolutely.
later on. But that's one of the songs that stuck out to me when Kate introduced you to me to you, and it's such a, no pun intended, but timely song. Just knowing that God has us here for such a time as this, and to think that He could have put us in any decade, any year. He chose to put us in the year 2024 to be His hands and feet and to be His light. And He's got a purpose for each and every one of us. And we're excited to hear about the purpose He has for you. So with that being said, Amanda, go ahead and share your testimony and just share a little bit about yourself with our listeners.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think that my faith and my music career kind of go hand in hand. So I like to kind of tell them together. I started music when I was 11 years old. I was always doing musical theater and all those kinds of things. And then when I was 11, I got introduced to songwriting. And it was something I just found so much joy and passion in. So I just kept growing that love and that, just trying to get better at it and all this stuff, just really immersing myself in that. And then from there, I would perform anywhere and everywhere I could. And I was writing and learning how to play guitar and piano and, trying to get better at singing and all these different things. And then when I was around 17, 18 years old, I was going through this really, really awful time where I had just graduated high school and I didn't really know what I was doing with my life. I knew I wanted to do music, but I didn't know what that looked like at the time. And I started to develop this really severe case of OCD, which I think that probably had been with me my whole life, but it didn't really show up until that moment. And from there, it just would get worse and worse every year. And I was really, really struggling with this severe anxiety. And then when it was right around the same time, actually, I knew that I needed to find a source of hope and a source of peace. And so at the time I was still recording music, and my producer he started working at a church, and then he ended up inviting me. So I went. I didn't really regularly go to church, didn't really grow up that way. We believed in God, but it just wasn't something we did. So then I started going and just absolutely fell in love with Jesus. I got to hear the word and learn about him, learn what it's like to have a relationship with him and the hope and peace that I was searching for that comes with that. So then from there, I started to get involved in the worship team and started listening to worship and Christian music. And when I was around 19, that's when I started to feel the call from the Lord to go into Christian music, and felt completely unprepared. I was like, I don't know enough. I don't know how to write Christian music. All those kinds of thoughts were going through my head. But then I just felt one day, I just gave the Lord a yes. And ever since then, it's been just amazing. So it's been so cool to see the Lord use my love for music to connect me with him. So that's just a little bit about my story. Of course, there's a whole lot more twists and turns, but that's just the simplified version.
That's awesome. And I love hearing those testimonies. That's one of my favorite parts of these interviews, is just getting to hear how people came to know the Lord, and just how he became real to them. Mm-hmm. And it's so neat to see that, and especially in your life. And you mentioned that you did music before, I guess, hopping into the Christian music genre, for lack of better words. How did your love for music really begin, and how did you get into music?
Yeah, so I was one of those people that just the day I was born, I was singing everywhere. I wanted to perform. I wanted to always be singing. And then I think from there I just, started doing musical theater, like at my local YMCA, like little stuff like that. And then I actually started and I was doing a little bit of acting as well. So I was going to an acting school in Philadelphia, and I met a man there who knew of this other man. It's a crazy story. He had just met this other man who is this incredible songwriter. And so he introduced us because he found out that I liked to sing, and then that's how I really got interested in songwriting. And ever since then, his name is Johnny Levi. He's awesome. And ever since then, he has been a mentor for me. Still to this day, he is one of the best family friends that we have. So he really, really is the one that taught me how to songwrite and really got me into it. So
cool. And that's really neat to see that, and just to see that transition throughout your musical career. And mm-hmm. What have been some of your inspirations for your songs, whether it was with the prior genre and then the Christian genre? How did you get your inspiration for your songs?
Absolutely. Starting out, it was definitely like Ed Sheeran, James Bay, this very lyrics focused kind of songs. That's really, they were my inspirations, and I feel like everything I wrote kind of mirrored them in a way. Obviously, not at the time, not as good as them by any means, but I tried. Yeah, so it's kind of stuff like that. I would, dabble into more pop sounds and then dabble into more acoustic pop. And then once I went into Christian music, I think I was looking for inspiration anywhere I could find it, because I just didn't know at the time what this was going to look like for me. And I think still to this day, I'm still trying to figure out exactly what my sound is. And I think that that's probably ever changing for every single artist out there. Their sound is always going to be different on each song. But I think right now, some of my biggest inspirations are Lauren Daigle. She's always going to be one for me, because I think we just kind of have similar voices in the sense of tone. I think ours kind of go hand in hand sometimes. I think that David Kushner, he's like kind of half Christian artist, half in the secular world, but I really love how descriptive his songs are, and how you can really see a lot of his lyrics, that are inspired by scripture. And I think that that's really cool. So those are two inspirations right now. Still trying to find the balance between the two. So that's where I'm at right now.
Cool. And what has been some scripture that's been an inspiration to you, whether it's writing music, just seeking the Lord for the direction He has for you with your musical career? What has been some scripture that comes to mind that has been help to you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I think that anytime I think as songwriters, we can really get stuck sometimes when you're trying to write. And I find that the biggest place for inspiration for me is to go to the Word. There's a lot of scripture that has been, inspired with my songs. I think with my song For Such a Time as This that I mentioned before, it was really came from the book of Esther. And I really wanted to write a song based off of the message of that book. So that's like the biggest one, where it's like, this line is scripture. And I think that that's why it feels so powerful to me, and why it's my favorite to perform, because it is from the Word of God. And it just, so I think all the time I'm looking through scripture, being like, okay, what new thing can I write about today, and how can I make it different? How can I tie in other pieces of scripture? So, it's definitely been a learning curve, but I'm trying to learn as much as I can.
Absolutely. And on that topic too of the story of Esther, For Such a Time as This, what's the story behind that? How did this song come to be? And how does this play a role in your life?
Absolutely. So when I was reading through the Bible, really for the first time, reading through the New Testament, I remember I was, gotten to the book of Esther, or I'm sorry, in the Old Testament. I'm like, wait a minute, I got it mixed up. Was reading through the Bible for the first time. This is in the Old Testament. And I remember reading her story and just reading, really the message of that book, and the line For Such a Time as This just really stuck out to me. And I was just like, I want to write a song about that. So I came out here to Nashville. This was a couple of years ago. And I was with a couple songwriters and just threw out this idea, and it just stuck. And we just went with it. And I thought that it was a message that could relate to every single person who's a Christ follower. That God calls us to different things every day. We're all called to a specific purpose. And I think that comes along with feelings of feeling unprepared, feeling like, God, you have the wrong person. I don't know what I'm doing. All these different feelings that come along with that. And I just wanted this song to be a reminder and an anthem that if God has called you to something, then He's going to provide everything you need. He's going to pave the way. And if He created you for this, like, if He's calling you to it, you can do it. So that was the inspiration behind it. And I was just so inspired by it and thought it could make a good song.
Awesome. And is Esther one of those heroes of the faith that you would say that's my favorite character of the Bible? Or is there someone else too that you look to, like, this is who I want to be like, and this is who I want to model my life after.
Yeah, I think Esther is definitely one of them. I think she was really, really brave, and I think that's why it really stuck out to me. I mean, there's just a lot. I think, obviously, Jesus being number one,
Yeah.
that I would love to mirror my life. Or,
Yeah, absolutely.
obviously can't get that perfect, but
Yeah.
he's, the inspiration. But yeah, I would say Esther is definitely one of them. There's just a lot. I think Job also, huge one, especially when I was going through the time that I had spoken about previously, where I was just such a broken person. Seeing that he was still able to have such great faith, in the midst of his storm, it made me feel like I could have faith as well. So.
Absolutely. And it's just neat to see the different people the Bible has to display. And not one single person except Jesus was perfect. And we've seen the good, the bad, the ugly. With David, we've got a whole book that he contributed to where you saw the good, the bad, the ugly. And it was using those songs to help him get through some of those tough times too. And when he was running from King Saul, he was writing about the Lord is my shepherd. He's going to protect me from this.
Yes.
And when he fell into the sin he did, the Psalms and songs where he's just pouring his heart out to God, saying, I'm sorry. The power of music is just, it's amazing. And the fact that music's going to be one of the key points of heaven someday, it's awesome that we get to experience a little bit of that here on earth. And what does music mean to you? And whether it's you writing music or you listening to music, what does music mean to you?
Yeah, music has always been almost like a source of therapy for me in terms of listening and creating it. I notice that anytime I'm feeling just really overwhelmed with emotions or feel like just my thoughts are jumbled and I just can't, seem to think clearly, I think a lot of times, other than going to the Lord and praying, going to be able to write is something where I just feel like I can make sense of what I'm feeling. And it's also how I connect with God, which is really, really cool to me, that sometimes when I can't explain what I'm feeling, the Lord will give me lyrics. And that's something that's really special and I hold really near and dear to my heart, that the Lord helps me connect with him in that way. And I think also listening to music just has this way of transporting you to a different place. It has so much effect on how I feel. I've just always been that way, and I think it's really cool that if I'm going through a hard time, there's somebody who wrote this song that's going to make me feel better. I just think that's really cool, and to be able to write that for other people in hopes that they feel the same way, it's just really special.
Awesome. And along those lines too, what is something you want your listeners, those listening to your music, to get away from your music? What's the takeaway message you want them to grab a hold of?
Yeah, I have, recently been describing my music as my prayers. Each song that I'm writing was at one point a prayer. And I think that's, something that I want people to see with it. I want them to know that I'm not perfect. And just because I follow Jesus, that doesn't make my life, perfect. It doesn't make me perfect. It doesn't make everything easy. I want to share that through my music, that you're not alone. And I want to share my walk with Jesus. So each song is kind of like a different part of my walk with him. And I think that that's what's really important, to share, because I think sometimes we can be like just wanting to put on this face of like, okay, Jesus has it and like it's good and I can move on. You know what I mean? But like there's a lot of heart changes that can go on. There's a lot of emotions that go on with following the Lord, and I really just want in a new way to pour that out into my music. And I think in this season of my life, the Lord is showing me what that looks like, and I'm trying to just dive deeper into that every day.
Absolutely. And one of the songs that just came to my mind that you wrote, Broken Pieces, and that's just a prayer of itself. How did that song come to be?
Yeah, so that song is directly inspired by the time in my life when, I was a broken person. Unfortunately, I was going through such a hard time, but that moment was the reason why I found the Lord. That was the moment that he brought me to him. And I like to say, in the song, it's about he's taking these broken pieces and he's putting them together to create this masterpiece. And that's really what I feel he did with me. It's what started my faith. So he took this moment that I felt was the worst moment of my life, and I felt so alone and broken, and he just literally took every single piece of me and he put it together and he showed me everything was going to be okay. And so that was the inspiration for that song, and that one's really special for me to listen to because I can look back at that time with gratitude and know that it brought me to this moment.
Awesome. And it's just neat to hear that too. It's the vulnerability that comes through that, just the realness of the songs like that. I love those kinds of songs where it's just the artist pouring out their heart, and almost a prayer to the Lord, just saying, "Here I am. This is what I'm going through, Lord. You know what it is. I want to vocalize it because it matters to you that you hear me say it." And I love that. So awesome.
Yeah. Thank you.
And, absolutely. And as the time of this episode comes out, there's a new song on the horizon for Amanda Nolan. Can you tell us about what's coming next for you?
Yes, absolutely. We're still working on the release date right now. It could definitely be out by the time this is out. So if it is, check it out. So this song I'm releasing, I'm so excited about this one. This is one that I wrote about 2 years ago, and I ended up putting a little clip of it on Instagram, and people just went crazy for it. I still have people to this day being like, when are you releasing it? This is how I even found you on Instagram, and just stories that are so special like that. So this song is called Second to God, and it's actually a Christian love song, which I've seen, a few of those out there, but it was just something I was so inspired by, growing up, seeing my parents have such a beautiful marriage and so many amazing people around me having beautiful marriages. And it's just a reminder that there's this godly love that we are waiting for and that God, wants us to have, and just knowing what you deserve and standing on that truth and knowing that the person that you're with is going to love God more than you. And that's the goal for a good relationship. So the idea is that the song says, I'm blessed to have found someone who will put him first and keep me second to God. So that's the inspiration behind the song. I'm really excited about it. I'm hoping to see it in weddings or wedding videos or stuff like that. That would just make my heart so happy. So I'm really excited about it. Hopefully it'll be out by the time this is.
With that being said, how can people find your music so that if the song is out, they could go listen to it right now, and if not, go follow her now so you can get it when it comes out? How can they get that music?
Yes, so I'm on Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, anywhere you can stream music. I'm there just under Amanda Nolan. And then on social media, I'm on everything as well under Amanda Nolan Music.
Awesome. And some final questions here for our time with you. And I've enjoyed this, and enjoyed having you on and just talking about what God's doing in your life and just some of the inspiration behind your music. But what are some of those, what are a few, or one or two, however many you want to share, memorable moments from a performance you had in your time in music?
Yeah, that's really great. I feel like I've had so many. I've been performing for over half my life, so there's just a lot. I think recently, probably the first performance I had when I moved here to Nashville, Tennessee from Pennsylvania. It's been my dream for so long to live here, and this was, it's called Nashville Worship Nights. That was the event that it was for, and I remember I booked this for a couple days after I moved so that I would have my mind focused on something other than the fact that I left my whole family and I miss everyone. So this was so special because I got to play my song for such a time as this, and I got to also share my testimony, which is not something I do very often, and something that tends to make me very nervous, just because I like to say I'm a singer, not a talker. But however, this one was really great because I just remember I drove there myself and I didn't really know anybody, and I just went and, did what I do, and I was like, okay, God, like, we're here. And it's just crazy to be standing in an answered prayer. So that's one that is my favorite. I'll always remember.
Awesome. And if you could look back to young Amanda, what is some advice you would give yourself? Just getting into music and just where you are now, some of the things you've picked up.
Absolutely. There's so much I would tell her. I think number one would be don't compare yourself, because as we know, comparison is the thief of all joy. And I think that that's something that I struggled with and do struggle with sometimes. And I think that unfortunately comes with being a musician, but I would really try to just drill it into my head. Like, you have your own journey, and that journey is beautiful regardless of what it looks like. You just create what you want to create, not what you think other people want to hear. Don't try to sound like anybody else. Just be who God called you to be and what he called you to create. I think that would be the number one thing that I'm still learning right now is that I just need to create what he puts in my heart and not try to force it, and just enjoy every second of it, because it's easy to lose the joy in it when you're so focused on getting to the destination, getting to the goal, which you've had your eyes set on, instead of enjoying every single thing that comes along in the journey.
Awesome. And this may be a similar answer, it may not, but what is some advice you'd give to a young person, whoever is listening to this? They could be young, old, whatever, but someone who's aspiring to do music?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it would be pretty similar in terms of the just enjoying every single part. Like I said, it's just so easy to get caught up in all the things that aren't going to matter at the end of the day. And yeah, I think just enjoying and appreciating every part, and also knowing that it's not all about you. A lot of times I think that it can become a very self-centered career, unfortunately. But just knowing that the music you're creating, whether it's Christian or secular, that it's for a greater purpose. And to just pour your heart out and be real and authentic and vulnerable. And I think that that's what people appreciate when they see someone being authentic. I know that I do, and people around me do. I think people can tell when you're trying to be a copy of someone else, but when you're really authentic, that's when people connect.
Awesome. 2 more questions here for you. Something we've been doing each Wednesday is highlighting a song. And for this week's song spotlight, is there a song, whether it's one of yours or from another artist, you would like to highlight this week?
Ooh, that's a great question. I want to say a certain song from a friend, but it's not out yet, so I can't say that, but I've heard it. She might be Kate, but it's a song that's not out yet, unfortunately.
Okay.
I love that song. I don't know when it's coming out yet, but I wish I could say that one.
Okay.
Man, I think... Okay, there's a song by an artist, Josiah Queen. Actually, the man who produced that song is the one who produced Second to God, my song coming out.
Nice.
But his song is called Fishes and Loaves. It's such a beautiful song, beautifully written. The music is beautiful, and it's just a great message. So I would love to highlight that one, because I also think he's an amazing artist as well.
Awesome. So it's Fishes and Loaves by
Fishes
Josiah Queen.
Josiah Queen.
Awesome. Cool. We'll definitely highlight that this week. So everyone, check that one out. And then, is there anything else you would like to plug, whether it's yourself, any upcoming projects, social media, whatever you want to plug, go ahead and plug it now.
Sure. Yeah. So there is a performance I have coming up We don't have a specific date yet, but it is going to be in May. It's for, it's called Unplugged, and it's in Franklin, Tennessee at I think it's Mockingjay Theater. I've only been there once. I just moved here, so I don't know things very well. I'm pretty sure it's
Okay.
Mockingjay Theater. Yeah, but there's going to be some incredible artists. They've already had some amazing performances already, so that will be in May. I don't have the exact date yet, but if you follow my social media, I will have that exact date by that point. And it's a ticketed event, so if you want to come check it out, grab a ticket, and it's going to be a great night. So,
Awesome. Do you have any other concerts or anything coming up?
yeah, so I am always playing at, it's called Just Love Cafe in Spring Hill, Tennessee. I'm there constantly. We are solidifying a couple dates, here in April, and then I'm sure I will have more in May and June. Gotta wait because he has a lot of artists coming through, which is awesome. So even if I'm not playing, if you live in Tennessee, you should definitely go check it out. They're always having awesome performances. So again, it'll be on my social media, those exact dates.
Awesome. Well, Amanda, it was great having you here in the virtual studio this week, and we'll drop all of her links and stuff in the show notes below. But we do appreciate you on the podcast, and we may have you back to highlight some more projects in the future. So
I
thanks
would
again,
love
Amanda.
that. Thank you so much.
Are you a thrill seeker looking for the perfect place to rest your head after a day filled with excitement? Look no further than Lodge Lovers, the trusted and recommended lodging provider of Rive Your Life Ministries. Whether you're planning for your next coaster trip, vacation getaway, or adventurous expedition, Lodge Lovers has you covered. With a wide range of rental prices to suit every budget, you can find the perfect accommodation for your needs. As a faith-based company, Lodge Lovers is committed to providing comfortable and welcoming lodging for all sorts of trips and adventures. Plus, when you book with Lodge Lovers, you're not just booking a place to stay, you're making a difference. That's right, Lodge Lovers is proud to donate 2.5% of all bookings to help Ride of Your Life Ministries. And you can rest easy knowing your stay is not just enriching your experience, but also contributing to a great cause of reaching those who need the gospel of Jesus Christ. For your next unforgettable adventure, choose Lodge Lovers. Book now and experience the perfect blend of comfort, convenience, and compassion. Visit our website, riveyourlifeministries.com, to learn more and to reserve your stay today with Lodge Lovers. Thanks again, Amanda, for joining us this week on the ROYL podcast. It is a pleasure having you on, and we're just looking forward to seeing what God has in store for your life in the future with Christian music and just life in general. So keep it up. And as far as news this week for Rive Your Life Ministries and just the ROYL podcast, all that stuff, like I said in the cold open, we are officially 1 year old here at Rive Your Life Ministries. And it's just neat to see the hand of the Lord working just through all circumstances. And we've seen him just bring people our way to where we built some really cool friendships, which this past week I got to hang out with two awesome guys that we met through Out of Your Life Ministries. I'm going to give them a shout out. John Angler, he's going to be on the podcast next week, which we'll talk about that in just a moment. And then our good friend Justin Thomas, and just awesome guys, and we're thankful for their friendship and just leadership. And we're excited for what God's got in store for them. And just a little sneak peek at what's coming up here on the Rive Your Life podcast as well. Let's go ahead and talk about this. As I mentioned, next week we have John Angler here on the podcast. Awesome friend, awesome man of God, heart for people, heart for the Lord. You don't want to miss next week's episode. John and I just sit down and talk things of God. We talk about coasters along the way. But like I said, the most important thing about next week's episode is talking about the very thought of pursuing Christ and the things of God, making him the number one priority of our life, and just living a life that's pleasing to him. So you don't want to miss that episode. I believe it'll be an encouragement to you and a blessing and a help to you. And John like I said, he's got a heart for the Lord and a heart for people. So you definitely want to tune in next week. The week after that, I'm looking at my cheat sheet here. The week after that, we're going to take a small little break from our theme for next month, and I'm going to give a trip report, kind of what we did last week. So Kinsey and I just got back from the Carolinas. It was a great trip, beautiful weather. We got to hit up Carowinds, which was a first for us. So I'll talk about that a little bit. Uh, we got to go down to the beach, which was really nice. We were there in Ocean Isle, just spent a few days there. Went down to Myrtle Beach, attended a Christian concert, I guess, series, if you want to call it that. Is some good Southern gospel artist, awesome artist. We got to hear Dr. David Jeremiah preach down there. If you know him, he's one of my favorite speakers and preachers. He's written numerous books that I would highly recommend, especially on the topic of end times. Great guy. Check out his stuff. It's Dr. David Jeremiah at Turning Point Ministries. Um, and we also got to go to Ripley's Aquarium, which was really fun. Uh, and it's a little bit different than the one down in Tennessee, but still fun. It was really cool to see all the creatures there. And we got to do Broadway at the beach, all that good stuff. We'll talk about that next week. And then the following week, we'll be looking at the topic of Lord, increase our desire, and looking at the thought of Lord, increase our desire for the things of God. And that's we've talked about a few of those things: desire to share the gospel, and I want to look more specifically into having a desire to dive into His Word and to pray. I think those are two vital things in a Christian's life. Um, that's how we get to know God. That's how we get to hear from God and grow closer to Him. So we're going to be looking at Lord, increase our desire, and more specifically, the desire for His Word and for prayer. So that will be on the 13th. And then on the 20th, little back story, I guess, on this. This week, in previous weeks, I've mentioned this week was going to be a 2-for-1 special. But due to some unforeseen circumstances with Kate's schedule and just some things going on with her, we weren't able to record her episode. But today, as this release, we are recording that episode. So Kate Stanford will be back in the virtual studio on our podcast on May 20th. We're just going to get to catch up with her, see what's going on, and just dive into some of her new music and some of the stuff she's putting out. It's awesome. Which, if you haven't checked it out already, go ahead and check out her new song, "Standing on Your Promises," and just a neat backstory to that song as well. We can't wait to talk about that in the podcast as well. So stay tuned for that. And then the week after that, we have a possible guest, a returning guest. So we have 2 returning guests in a row, and it is a daunted pursuit. As of now, they're going to be on at the end of May, and we're so excited to catch up with them, see what God's doing in their life, because a lot has happened, and we're excited to just hear from them, and most importantly, hear from God, but hearing what God's been doing in their life through some change. So we're excited to dive in to that as well. And then we'll wrap things up in June. We have a really cool slate of things that we have planned. We have our topic for the month and 2 possible guests. A live recording will be one of those. So more details will come in May about the live recording. And then we'll kind of cast a vision for what to expect in season 4 and beyond. And again, it's all in the Lord's hands, but I kind of have a vision. I have an idea as to where we're going with that. And it's going to be awesome. I will tell you this: season 4 is going to be a really impactful season, to say the least. We're excited to just dive into the thought, and this is getting a little bit ahead of myself, but as of now, this is what I believe God's going to have us do. That we're going to be looking at the thought of our stories, and we're going to be looking into the lives of a few different people in different circumstances and how we've seen God work in their lives, whether it's through addiction, through trials, just tests in life, and just how people have seen God in different situations. We're so excited for that, and the guests that we have planned are going to be some really good ones. And of course, we'll have parks here and there, but I want to focus in on those stories of just seeing God do the impossible. And when all hope felt lost, God was there. So that's going to be a little teaser for season 4. We'll talk about it more in just a few weeks, but that's what you can expect for the podcast. And then obviously season 4 will pick up in August after a little hiatus, a little break there in July, just for my birthday. I need a break too. So, so we're going to be doing that as of now for the ROYL podcast. In other ROYL news, I'm saving this one. I just thought of something for announcement. I'll leave that for last. That is the giveaway winner, which if you haven't seen on social media already, it's already been picked. But I'll announce them and give us some shout outs here in just a moment. But what else we got? ROYL Shop, we're working on some new designs. One of the new designs that has recently been put out is our Rock the Smoky shirt for this year. There's no Spirit song, so we obviously don't have a Spirit song shirt this year, but we have the Rock the Smoky shirt. So if you're planning on going to that, you can purchase one of those shirts. We got hoodies, long sleeves, drawstring bags, all that cool stuff in the ROYL Shop. That's roylshop.com. It has this year's artist on it. So Kane, Casting Crowns, Riley Clements, all those guys are on there. And kind of a design to go along with the marketing for this year's event. We got a few designs that we're working on, and we'll definitely release those in the coming weeks. And I'm still trying to figure out how to pull off the 50th, or not 50th. I'm already thinking Kings Island and all that merch. But first anniversary merch, we're going to put some things out here and there. And definitely give you a few new designs here and there. But that's a ROYL Shop. Social media, stay tuned on our social media. We got some cool things coming up. Like I said before, Ryan and I are hopefully getting some new content out video wise here soon. Stay tuned to that. We'll announce more once that gets nailed in. Oh, yes. Upcoming meetup on June 15th. We are having our second meetup of the year. Our first one was to Answers in Genesis with their art design studio. The second one, June 15th, is to Kings Island. And we got a fun day planned there. We're going to focus in on the Rivertown area and the Camp Snoopy area. We'll be meeting at 1 o'clock this year. We won't be doing lunch. We're just going to ride some coasters, enjoy some time in the park. The rides that we'll be covering are, and this is the subject change based on the day, weather, and just if they're open, or like the rides are open. The park will definitely be open, Lord willing. But Mystic Timbers, Diamondback for sure. Maybe Beast, depending on how the line is and all that. We definitely want to get a ride in on the new Snoopy's Soapbox Racers, which is over in Camp Snoopy. But on that day as well, it is the opening day of the Gazillion Bubble Show, and our plan is to go see that at some point, whether it's at the beginning of the day or closer to the end of the run for the day. But we are going to try to get a group to go see that, and then we'll have our group photo at the front gate like last year. Just a fun day, and we want you to join us. All you have to do, the only thing you have to pay for is your ticket. So if you have a gold pass, platinum pass, passport, or not, platinum's not there sadly, but if you have the passport, gold pass, or the prestige pass, come on in the park. We'd love to see you, meet you, just hang out for the day, ride some coasters, see the Gazillion Bubbles, which sounds stinking awesome. I can't wait to see that with you all. What else? We'll announce more details about what you can expect for that meetup as we get closer, as always, and I'll tell you our rain plans as well. I think that is all. As always, stay tuned to our social media for all the details there. But as promised, we are going to talk about our giveaway. So 1 year down of Ride of Your Life Ministries. We're excited for what God has in store in the days, weeks, months ahead. And we had a very good turnout for our giveaway our first anniversary giveaway. A lot of people entered, did the prompts and all that. And if you saw our story, which spoiler alert, if you've seen it already, but on our stories on Instagram and Facebook, I believe, you could see that a lot of people entered into this thing. I believe we had over 67, 68 folks enter. And we narrowed it down to, well, we had everybody entered, but we got all the points broken down based off of if you did all the prompts, like tagged people, they followed, all that stuff. I'm going to go ahead and shout out everybody that entered. So this is a little prize for everybody. It's like, I hate saying it, like participation ribbon, but the folks who entered, thank you all so much for entering. So we had Adam Dragster, Allison Writes Things, Amusement Dreams, Aero Coaster Nerd, Ashley Bakes the Cake, Big Nate Dog 03, Carmen A. Jordan. I gotta get my list here. Christian the Ride Op, CK Coaster, Coaster Bay, Coaster Chicken, Coaster Glitch, Coaster Owen, Coaster Dog, Coaster Cat 112, Coaster Ginger, Coaster Life 4, Coaster Central, Coaster Wolf 0108, Colby Martz, Dan Clark 22, Drew Cheshire, Elizabeth Nato, Fiesta Texas Thrills, Frostic 16. I'm sorry if I butcher names here. Heath Patrick Dawson, Henry Emilius 2022, International Thrills, John Engler, Johnny is Right 05, Justin CT 2003, Kara Abbey, Caitlin Personal, Katie's Coasters, and Katie's Insta Creations. Shout out Katie. KC Thrills 1, Coaster Katie, KRJ 5467, Lauren Englich. I'm sorry if I butchered that, Lauren. Mark Hamiltick. I'm sorry, Mark. Mary Berries, Midwestern Enthusiast, Ninja Mike, so Mike Basco out there. Ninja Mike 116, Northern Amusement, Peterson Cooper, Piggy Gerald 01, Railfan Coasters, RMC Hurler, and our good friend Ryan Subler Media. Ryan snuck in there. Sean Ramsey 547, Social Coaster Girl, or SoCal Coaster Girl, I'm sorry, SoCal Coaster Girl, Sportsy Girl 88, T Rose Bunny Adventures, TFAB BM5, That X2 Kid, The Adventuring Abbeys, Wes Hendrick, Wild Gazers, Wonder Flash 623, Zach C. Lewis Z. Thank you to all those who entered again, and just thank you for your support of this mystery. And as always, we have to pick a winner. It was hard. Well, I ended up just having a spinner do it for me. So I had the Wheel of Names, the random name selector. Thank you. Shout out to that website. Pick our winner. And the winner of the first anniversary giveaway was Sportsy Girl 88. So congratulations, Ashley. And if you haven't already, go ahead and send us a DM with your address and info, and we'll get that prize pack out to you. And again, thank you everyone for entering that giveaway. And we will definitely be doing more giveaways over the year and just give away some awesome, cool Royal merch, swag, and anything that our guests want to give out. We'll be glad to do that. So, with that being said, thank you all so much for tuning into this week's episode of the ROYL Podcast. Tune in next week as we have special guest John Engler talking about pursuing Christ and chasing Christ and coasters and all that good stuff. So, God bless you all. We will see you next week here on the ROYL Podcast. Peace. Thank you for tuning into this week's episode of the Ride of Your Life podcast. We hope it's a blessing, help, and encouragement to you. You can connect with us here at Ride of Your Life Ministries on Facebook, Instagram, Threads, and YouTube at Ride of Your Life Ministries. You can also find us on X at ROYL Ministries, and that's Royal without the A. You can find us on our website at rideofyourlifeministries.com, and you can text us at the ROYL Hotline at 513-285-8319. And again, that is 513-285-8319. Be sure to give us a 5-star rating on your favorite podcast streaming platform and also leave a review so that the word gets out to those who need to hear it. We hope you all have a great week and we will see you next Monday. God bless.